Welcome back. We are seeing historic turnout throughout the country. Nearly 100 million people have voted across the United States, and we are likely to shatter records. Let's take a moment to go through some of the early voting numbers here in South Florida. In Miami-Dade, we have seen early and mail-in voting numbers now approaching 1 million voters. And in Broward, here are the numbers. Look at that. Another 766,000 votes are in. Across the state, the total number is around 8.3 million votes cast. And joining me to take a closer look at the turnout here in Florida and across the country is David Becker, the executive director and founder of the Center for Election Innovation and Research. David, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We were talking yesterday, and one of the things that struck me was just your level of joy at seeing the number of people who are actually turning out and vote, not just here in Florida, but across the country. Talk to about it a little, because I think we all get in our camps and our silos sometimes, but you see what's happening right now is really a good thing, don't you?
Absolutely. You see the campaign's trying to spin things, of course, right now, but the main story right now is that we are almost certainly going to hit 100 million Americans who have already cast their ballot by the time that the polls open on Tuesday morning. And that includes about 8.3 million in Florida, almost 10 million in Texas, 4 million in North Carolina. I mean, we're seeing millions and millions of people voting all over the United States. They're getting their mail ballot in. They're going early in person. As you know, today is the last day of early in-person voting in places like Miami-Dade and Broward and Palm Beach counties. You can vote until 7 p.m. today. Check the local website out. The election officials are doing a great job, and there are even wait times on the websites in Palm Beach and Miami-Dade. If you have a mail ballot, there's still time to get it in. Just make sure you drop it off in a drop box. Don't put it in the mail. But we're going to hit 100 million voters before we've even opened the doors on Tuesday morning.
You know, we were talking also about eligible voters, and let's define eligible voters as anyone 18 years or older who can vote, whether they're registered or not. But, you know, I think the record since 18-year-olds were given the right to vote came in 2008, was it, with about 61%? You think we might actually beat that record for the first time in almost 5 decades, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I think it's highly likely we beat that record. Just think about it this way. If we get 100 million people casting their ballot before Election Day and we get 50 million more, which might be on the low end for Election Day, that's actually about 20 million fewer people voting on Election Day than did in 2016. But we would still be seeing about 62 to 63% turnout if that happened. I've seen estimates that say that we might even be approaching 160 million turnout, which would blow past any records that we've seen in over a century.
So let's get folks ready for election night, because there's a lot of concern and people are wondering when we will know a winner. But give us an idea, because look, every state has their own sort of system as how they report results, and we shouldn't be in panic mode as to how that happens. So walk us through a little bit. What states will we likely see possibly on election night, and what states may take a little longer?
Well, the first piece of really good news, particularly for Floridians, is that Florida is well set up for this. We're going to know Florida very early, unless the margin is razor thin like it was in 2000. Florida's laws have been very well established for some time. Floridians know how to vote. They voted early. They're voting by mail. They're going to vote on Election Day. And Florida's election officials, the supervisors of elections in every county, are incredibly professional. They've got this down. They're going to be ready to report out their early and mail voting totals very soon after the close of polls, and then election totals will be coming in shortly thereafter. And I think it's highly likely that we'll have unofficial but mostly complete results in Florida by give or take around midnight. Other states like Georgia, North Carolina, Ohio, Texas, Arizona will likely also be able to report out sometime late in the evening, early morning, Tuesday, Wednesday. The states to watch out for if it comes down to these states are, of course, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. They are not allowed to process mail, absentee ballots, and early ballots until Election Day or right before, unlike Florida, which has been processing them as they've been coming in over the last several weeks. So they're going to start that process, removing the ballots from the envelopes, most likely on Tuesday morning, and that could take some time.
David, I want to just play for you a little piece of sound. Donald Trump was barnstorming Pennsylvania yesterday, and he said something that caught my attention. I think caught a number of people's attention. I want you to listen to this sound about how there could be problems with delays in voting.
You're allowed to wait days to count and days to have the final count. You're allowed to have time limits beyond November 3rd. So what does this mean? The whole world and our nation is going to be waiting and waiting and waiting to hear who won?
He went on to say that this is going to create bedlam and all sorts of problems. I know in talking to you that obviously, you know, you're a nonpartisan, taking a nonpartisan approach in all of this, but this message doesn't help. And there is nothing unusual about some states taking a little longer to report the results, is there?
That's right. Counting ballots is not a race against time, and it never has been. It's most important to get it right, not to get it fast. And the way we've always counted ballots, and I want to be clear about this, since the foundation of the Republic, is that we have never known official results on election night. Only in recent times have we been able to get unofficial results when the margins were large enough to dictate who's won the presidency. But even then, those results are unofficial. States take weeks to officially tabulate the ballots, to double check them, to make sure that every single count from every single precinct matches, to make sure that we have time for members of the military to get their ballots in. And they are entitled under law to get their ballots in later than many other voters because they're often so far away. So it's really important to understand that what we're going to see on election night, if it takes some time, it means it's close, but that's entirely normal. It's going to take days until we likely know the outcome of the election if it's very, very close. But there's also the possibility that if margins are larger, that we will know on late Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning. And as more people vote, the greater the likelihood is that we're going to have larger margins. And that's why it's so important for everyone, if you're on the fence, if you haven't returned your mail ballot to a drop box yet, if you haven't gone to do early voting yet, if you're still making a plan for election day, make sure you get out and vote. Let's break every record. All
right, we got about 30 seconds left. You know, you touched on it earlier, but I want to buck up the folks here in Florida who, I think got a bad rap because of 2000. I like to make fun of the folks down here as well because, well, it's Florida and we typically know how to screw things up. But you're actually quite impressed with the way Florida has been running their elections in recent years, correct?
Yeah, I'll tell you, you know, if Florida gets an undeserved reputation, and it's mainly because Florida's elections are always razor-thin margins. Every statewide race is a half a percentage point or a quarter percentage point. It's really hard to run elections. But I will tell you, I work very closely with the Secretary of State of Florida, with the 67 supervisors of elections throughout the state. There has never been more professionalism amongst the supervisors. They are ready for this. They have been planning for this for some time. Florida is one of the best situated states for election day.
David,
I think Florida voters should feel confident.
David, I really appreciate your time, and maybe we'll try to catch up after the election and just sort of see how we did. So again, thank you very much. All right, we'll be back with a look at what the weather will be like on Election Day when we return.